Nick, do the Saints need a different body type at wide receiver? Yesterday, you asked Kellen Moore about the addition of Brandon Cooks, and then he elaborated on it and talked about how, you kind of wish you had a basketball team of body styles, but he kind of detailed that the Saints are now flexible. So, what do you take from those comments?
Well, I mean, I still think they need one. I think
Yeah.
it is an issue when everybody is 6 feet tall across the board. Now, could Kellen Moore cook up an offense where he's just burning people down the field with these fast runners, Derek Carr's throwing it down, you're playing everything off of play action, and you're just lighting people up? Absolutely. There's a lot of different ways to win a football game, and this might be good enough. It's easy to kind of forget how good Chris Olave is because he's been hurt and
Yeah.
he was kind of out of sight, out of mind down the stretch last year. That's still somebody that I think can be an elite receiver. And I think there is still a ton of on tap potential. He just has to stay healthy, and hopefully he does. We know he's working out on his neck and trying to do things to get a little bit stronger to prevent some of those concussions. Hopefully he can do that for a multitude of reasons, the least of which is success on the football field. But that success on the football field would bring a lot of people joy here. So it would be cool to see him kind of tap
Yeah.
into that all the way and be that type of player. Shaheed, I think, still has layers that can be pulled off of his game. There's still a lot of stuff that I think he can do better. I think he can learn the game better. I think he can be better. I think he can run better routes. But I think he's awesome right now at what he does. But maybe getting some consistency within the coaching staff helps with that. And Cooks is still a player that can play. He's been around the block. He's on the back nine. He's probably coming into the final hole. But I think he can still hit the ball off the tee and drive it right down the middle of the fairway. I think he can still play football. But yeah, you want that 6'3" guy. I still think, based on what happens on the draft, you get on the other side of it. I still think there's a Keenan Allen proposition. I still think there's another chance of maybe getting somebody that has that body type because it is such a need. And they did create all this cap space for a reason. That didn't happen just on accident. It's sitting there, it's waiting, it's in the reserves. I think there's still other moves to be made to build out this offense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even last year we saw with MVS how like that bigger body can extend their arms further than anybody else and make things happen. But we talked about it, I think, in last week's episode about how Jawan Johnson, somebody that just got paid and was formerly a wide receiver, now is, has to thrive in that role, kind of sort of. Even if you do add on another receiver, he has to be somebody that's looked upon as a bigger body receiving threat. So that's just where I'm at with it, where, yeah, you can add a Keenan Allen, you can add somebody who's bigger, stronger, but the people that's already in the building have to continue to step up and level up.
Yeah, I mean, you can pay a lot of money for something and it doesn't make it what it is. I can go buy, shrimp from Long John Silver's and overpay for it, but it isn't going to make it the shrimp you get at Bobby Aber's Cajun Cannon. So, you got to, you can't overpay and make something what you want it to be. It just is. And either something's excellent or it's not. I think Juwan has to prove that on the field. The paycheck ain't going to do it for him. And just because they paid a ton of money for him, yeah, that doesn't mean he's the clutch guy in those situations. I think Juwan knows that, though. When we talked to him, he said
Yeah.
he doesn't want to be someone that's just getting yards when it doesn't count and at different times in the season. But I wouldn't want to be betting on that to be my answer for all those things because it wasn't the answer last year. He was on the field last year, and it wasn't all of a sudden Jawan's the red zone threat. He was
Yeah.
2 years ago. He wasn't last year. Maybe Kellen Moore unlocked something. Maybe Doug Nussmeier unlocked something. Absolutely possible. I would feel a whole lot better, though. And I don't know if the answer is T-Mac. We saw the video. Video's about 2 years old about him talking about not liking to watch football, not liking to watch film, not watching film on his own. It has been 2 years, but look, the current questions about him are centered on those types of issues. And I think that's why that video becomes relevant, is because you have heard those things. You've heard that he doesn't practice well. You've heard that there's some stuff about the buy-in. You watch his film, there's some routes where it doesn't. I think I said it the last Wednesday. I was watching his film. I was like, man, there's some plays where it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's not all the way in on it. So I think all those things are real. That doesn't mean you take him off your board and you don't draft him. It just means you better talk to him and have questions for him. And I also think, and this is getting way out into the weeds here, but I think these types of issues are things we're going to start seeing consistently coming into the league because of the transfer portal. I think that you can no longer take McMillan and say, sit your ass down. We got to watch this film. This is how we're going to do it. If you don't want to do it, we got to run. Oh, you didn't put in the hours on your iPad. we're gonna run whatever they call them now. The
Suicide
you
squad.
know
I mean, well, yeah,
I don't know what they
yeah.
call them now in
Gas,
2020,
one
but
cleanse,
gas
whatever.
or
Yeah,
they run gas.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
whatever
Gas.
it is. Yes. So I don't know. I just don't think you can do that anymore, especially at a program like Arizona. I think that star players at these programs are going to be coddled, and I don't think they are going to be coached hard. And I think it's going to add to a deterioration of the college product. It's going to lead to a deterioration of the NFL product. Now you can't practice as much in the NFL. I think that the quality of football in general is going to be decreased due to the portal. You already see the effects on the college basketball right now. You got four number ones. You put four number ones in the Final Four before. You weren't a ball knower. Like you were an idiot. You were a clown. Look at this guy just putting all the ones in there. That never happens. I think
Yeah.
that's just what it's going to be now. Because if you're a good player, you're gonna go somewhere else. But I think in football in particular, if you get a player who's really good at your program, you're going to throw money at him and you aren't going to coach him. And that's just what's going to happen. And hey, look, I mean, more power to him. Everybody should get paid. I'm happy for him. But it is something that I think is a side effect of what's happening right now. And I think these types of things are going to be more and more prominent going forward because start yelling at someone, they're going to dip. It's just the way it is.
No, and look, I'm 24 years old. I'm on that kind of fringe of all these younger dudes now. They know what it's like to get buried in college. You know what I mean? As a player, even at the smaller level schools, you can cop an NIL deal almost from anywhere. And some people, like I'm talking to, they're like, "Oh man, I'm about to hit the portal," and it's like, did you take an evaluation of yourself before you say you're just gonna hit the portal? It was like, no, the coach told me coming out of high school I was gonna get PT. I haven't really gotten the PT I wanted. Now I'm about to just go down the road and like try to see if I can get more money. And I'm like, where's where's the stick to itiveness? Where's the grind?
But we're talking about the stars now, though. Like you're talking about a star player, and you got T Mac who's lighting it up, and
Yeah,
someone's throwing money at him, and now the coach is yelling at him. He is leaving, and he does have options, and someone's
right.
trying to pay him to leave, and you're trying to do everything you can to make him not leave. So we're talking about a situation where the power is with the player, not with someone not looking for playtime and
Yeah,
dipping. Like someone that's getting all the playtime, all the shine, and can go like Quinn Ewers, like say Quinn Ewers or something. Notre Dame, hey, we'll pay you to come up here and play. And if your coach is being an asshole, you're just gonna go. And so
right.
I think it's a very bad thing for. Look, there's some self motivated people, but I think other people get in situations and enter it not being self motivated, and they have a transformative experience because Nick Saban was just dogging them out, and they're like, wait a
Yeah,
minute, he's dogging me out, and now I'm getting results. I don't think that exists anymore. I don't
yeah.
think you learn anything about yourself through a hard situation anymore because they're just going to go.
What do you tell somebody? Like if you're the coach, your star player knows they're a star player, they knows they're, the pull, the money maker. What do you tell them?
If I'm the Arizona coach
Yeah,
and I'm trying to get T Mac to play
yeah,
harder and put more buy-in, I'm just taking what I can get. I'm telling him that, hey man, do what you got to do. Because look, if I push him and he leaves and I start losing games, and I'm losing my money. What's my
right,
motivation?
right.
So yeah, I'm catering to him. It's like if you had LT on your team in the '80s and he wants to do a line of whatever and show up
Right,
crazy.
right, right.
Hey, LT's got his own rules.
If
Yeah.
you perform, you perform. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yes, but it's even more. It's different now. It's just different. If my quarterback doesn't want to study, but he's going out there and making plays like Johnny Manziel. You're winning me games, and I'm making money. I'm keeping
Yeah,
my money. I'm doing what I got to do to survive in this situation.
yeah, for sure. Do you think the Kellen Moore staff with bringing in those college kind of coaches will help in that transition for the Saints? Just some more, just having people who have experienced some of those things.
I mean, it's a fascinating conversation. I think a lot of that is geared toward player development for sure, and I think the
Yeah,
player development aspect in the NFL is changing rapidly, like very, very rapidly, because you get guys coming in that have never done a 3-point stance before. So you're starting over at ground zero.
wow.
They've probably, and even more and more coming forward, they've never been coached hard before or anything. I think somebody that can be that transitional piece in between the two, especially in a situation where realistically everything has to be rebuilt here. You're starting, there isn't a lot of foundational young pieces, but we've talked about this a million times. But so realistically, you are going to have to draft and develop a lot of players. And if you want to get better rapidly and speed up that process, Bo Davis being able to take a third round edge rusher and molding him into something absolutely is something that I think is going to be very important. Terry Joseph being able to take a second, third round safety, building him up to be the guy that can eventually replace Tyrann Mathieu. If that happens, you just turned a double into a triple, and
Yeah,
you're gonna have to do a lot of that. So yes, yeah, I mean that's a really good point, man. I just the cultural difference I think makes that player development aspect even more important. So yeah, bringing people that took 17, 18-year olds and were tasked with turning them into good, viable men who can be ready to go to the NFL. Yeah, bringing that if they can do it at the same level while also learning how to coach it, because I think there is a difference between coaching in college and the NFL. Yeah, I think it's changing a little bit,
about to
but
say that the line might get
yeah.
blurred a little bit.
Yeah, you actually have to have people skills now in college football, whereas before you didn't. You just got them on your campus and it was whatever. And in the NFL, you have to be able to do both. You got to be able to treat people like professionals while also getting the best out of them. So yeah, that's changed a little bit, but absolutely, yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. And that readiness of coming into the league, we've been hearing for a few years about how it's been deteriorating, and then the lack of practices, the lack of padded practices has set it back even more, the player development aspect. And yes, what's happening in these colleges, I think changes it quite a bit.
Yeah, so no more the system is the system because it's the system because I said so.
Yeah.
It's just a constantly evolving thing across the board.
Yeah.
Man, that's
And look, I think there's an aspect that players, yeah, they should get treated better, but they
yeah.
shouldn't also have all the power. There's a medium between these two things that I think at some point somebody's going to have to find just to regulate it, just to make it all good. Like something has to balance out at some point where it's in the best interest of everybody, I think, to find that middle ground. But if you got to pick one over the other, give all the power to the players. Like if it's all or nothing one way or the other, but hopefully there is a middle ground somewhere in this.
No, for sure. Even that whole concept of does this person like football? A lot of these athletes really like the ones that I know, they kind of don't. They like to play Madden. They like to, all of that. But in terms of watching the game like a fan or somebody covering the team or something like that, they really don't. Even you go back to like the 2020 NBA draft. The question was, did Anthony Edwards like to play basketball? Does he love basketball? Does he love the game? And while he was at Georgia, I mean, a lot of people were just saying no, but now you look, he's arguably one of the younger faces of the league coming up. So it working out is its own process, but the landscape is changing of the precedent of, oh well, this guy is a ball lover, and that's that's what we like, that's what we want. Because I mean, people recognizing their own power. So I don't know, it's a slippery slope, but I think a medium has to get found. I agree with you totally on that.